As regular as sunrise, as unrelenting as the flow of the Clyde, Ange Postecoglou's appetite for success is never sated. The season that was to be about transition had become one of transcendence, and in the summer of 2022, more was expected.
I always thought the Celtic were going to win the league. It's just a question about how many.
With the manager, Postecoglou, the recruitment there, I just think Celtic have been too strong for the league, to be honest with you. I think they're a different ballpark from the rest of the league, to be honest with you.
Celtic in Ange's first year had kind of transitioned the team from maybe a bit of a disaster at the start, what looked like it might have been, to a force that was to be reckoned with.
There was optimism too across the city. Rangers had reached the Europa League final and won the Scottish Cup, so an old-fashioned title slugfest lay in prospect.
I think there was a lot of excitement last summer coming into the new season in terms of would there be a title race, would there be a reaction from Rangers given that Celtic had won the league.
There was a bit of feel-good around Rangers after winning the Cup previous season, after getting to a European final. Celtic looked to have improved. Rangers had a very iffy transfer window in the summer, particularly because they lost Bassi and Aribo.
Down to the rest of us to try and come up with third, fourth, fifth, sixth, whatever.
Hearts far and away third. We were looking for them to go and consolidate that position, but get further away from, you know, the rest. Maybe, you know, the noises were they were going to try and get closer to Rangers and Celtic.
And down at the other end, I didn't know what was going to happen.
I remember having a conversation around the likes of Kilmarnock and how they would look under Derek McInnes back in the Premiership. Ross County, they had a brilliant season. I think goals was the difference for them last year.
You knew it was going to be tight down the bottom. I think the standard in the league's pretty similar out with, you know, Celtic, Rangers, Hearts. You would have expected Aberdeen and Hibs to be up there.
This is Scottish football. You just can't see the stories coming around the corner.
I think there was huge optimism when you look at the investment, the new managers that had come into certain jobs, the turnover, the changes in players. Yeah, it was exciting.
The scene was set as the runners and riders took their places. Season 22-23 would be unforgettable. For season's opening, Chief Conductor Callum McGregor presented the league trophy as Celtic began with prestissimo pace, Rangers playing second fiddle, but only just.
Both sides managed to do that. I think when you look at Celtic's opening day fixture against Aberdeen, I think Aberdeen have always been a side that look to try and compete against the Old Firm, and you look at that as an opening day game that could points be dropped, or how will Celtic start the season. And they start the season the exact same way that they finished the previous season. Rangers certainly in those opening 5 fixtures managed to almost replicate Celtic's form.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the start of the season it was fairly neck and neck. Both Rangers and Celtic were winning games. Obviously then Rangers dropped points at Easter Road rather controversially.
Rangers, to be honest with you, at the start of the season, they weren't playing well. There's no doubt about it. There was a lot of grumblings in the fans about the way they were playing. Yeah, they were kind of getting the results. And that one slip up, like you say, at Easter Road, it was when the red card was eventually overturned. Did it really impact the game? It's a last-minute goal.
What a goal from Josh Campbell! Himself levelled it into injury time.
At that point you're thinking, right, the games against each other are going to be massive. They're going to have to get results against each other because they mean so much anyway. But in a season where you're looking at, can that title race go down to the wire, then the games against each other are massive.
The first meeting of the top two saw plenty of fireworks.
Then comes the Old Firm game. As ever, loads of anticipation. It's the first marker to put down. Celtic showed their dominance.
There's a chance early on, and McLaughlin can't keep it out. Abada opens the scoring.
They annihilated them. They humiliated them.
Here's O'Reilly looking further on Jota. He's found him. And Jota is delightful. And Celtic are 2 up. And Celtic slice through the Rangers defence.
There was just so much imagination in that Celtic performance, and so much ruthlessness as well. So much ambition.
It'll come from Abada. They've got 3. And Celtic simply look unstoppable right now.
I was there and Celtic Park went utterly ballistic because that was a pretty special performance. Rangers didn't know what to do.
It's Turnbull taking full advantage of the gift from the Rangers keeper. And Celtic have 4. They have been rampant.
It was 4-0 going on 6 or 7 that day.
Just losing one Old Firm game doesn't necessarily mean that the league title was over. There's been plenty of Rangers and Celtic teams over the years that have lost the Old Firm games and gone on to win them. But I think as a marker, as a statement from Celtic at that point in time, it was a big one.
And a big gap was starting to open. Rangers' run to Seville had given hope that Scottish clubs could be a force on the continent again. But before a ball was kicked in the Premiership, Motherwell's adventures were ended on the west coast of Ireland.
Not so much a European adventure.
It was Sligo Rovers, right? And I think everyone in Scotland probably still has a little kind of looks down on the League of Ireland.
You know, when you're playing in Europe, especially, you know, as a Scottish side, you can't overlook anyone. It doesn't matter what league they play in.
Very quickly, without having played too many pre-season games, you're into a game against a team who are full-time, who are, 2/3 of the way through their season.
And they got done.
A disastrous start to the season for Motherwell, and you know, resulting in Graham Alexander losing his job. So hugely disappointing for everyone.
But for one night on Tayside, things looked a lot brighter.
Dundee United had a massive night against AZ at home. Tannadice heaving.
I thought the atmosphere in the stadium was brilliant. Again, European football at Tannadice. You know, looking back historically, some incredible nights at Tannadice in Europe. And the only thing that I can say coming out of that game was there was real positivity.
There's Middleton, slaloming his way through. He might get it back here. It's Middleton! And it means so much to the Arabs.
They win 1-0. The winning goal was a terrific team goal. Jack Ross in his pomp. And you think, oh, wow, look at the players that they have. Look at the team that he's assembled.
Something special was going to happen at Dundee United after that performance.
This is going to be a big season for Dundee United.
How quickly it changed.
In the second leg, if United could go Dutch, they'd be through. But a ravenous AZ were in no mood to split the bill.
Second leg, they get destroyed.
The way that they approached the game, the goals they conceded, yeah, I think it was poor. So to play the way they did and go out the way they did was a sore one.
Yeah, I don't think they ever recovered from those 2 games.
A 7-0 defeat. A bad night for United and a bad night for the sports scene presenter.
Well, obviously we were doing the game live and at half time. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever live this down. I asked John Rankin at 5-0 down if he thought the game was over.
United trail 5-0 at half-time. John, is the tie over?
Yeah, he's lucky he never asked me. I would have gone. I don't think I could have coped with him asking me that.
Yeah, the tie's over. I mean, they'll be hugely disappointed at half-time.
He's lucky that he's got a really nice guy, a good guy, and John Rankin that he's answered the question properly.
Needless to say, I've had that thrown back at me a few times since then. The mistakes you make, you learn from them.
Yeah, that was a season highlight for me.
Hearts had a free hit against Zurich, a win to cash in the Europa League, but with a place in the Conference League bank guaranteed.
I think that Zurich, I thought that the first leg they had the opportunity to go and win the game, and look, Zurich were a good side. Nonto, who was in the side's been performing really well in the Premier League for Leeds, so they had good players, but I think it was a missed opportunity for Hearts. I think that You know, they showed that they could match them in the away leg, the first leg, and then when they get home, you've got that crowd, fantastic atmosphere, and you've got a belief that they can go and win it. George Grant gets sent off, it changes the dynamic of the game, and you know, it ends in disappointment.
When you look at the finances of this and the importance of that third place finish in the league, it's profound. You're talking 3, 4, 5 million if you get into the group stages, which they were guaranteed anyway. So they go into the conference and they have some big days. Okay, they don't win as many games as they want to win, but they play Fiorentina away, massive away support. You talk to Hearts fans and they say that trip was one of the best ever in their lifetime. So they think they got a lot out of it.
The fortunes of Celtic and Rangers in the Champions League would bring mixed reactions.
The performance result for Rangers to beat PSV to get into the group stage was brilliant.
That's pretty impressive. But it's a case of be careful what you wish for.
It wasn't a good watch, to be honest with you. I mean, I was at pretty much every game working at them, and it wasn't a good watch. I can't really think. Maybe a half against Napoli at home until the sending off. I think Rangers were competitive, but for the most part it was a really, really disappointing campaign.
To come out of that campaign being statistically the worst team to have played in the Champions League, then no, I mean that's not anywhere near the aim that Rangers would be hoping for.
So it started off as a great high, ended up as a monstrous low. And now Giovanni Bronkhorst, who was hailed as a bit of a hero for getting them there, people are going, you need to go. Celtic's point of view, obviously very disappointing, but viewed in a completely different way.
Celtic stuck to their identity and how they played the game, and they certainly matched teams for parts of the game and looked promising at certain moments, and probably defining type moments when you look back at, i.e. the Callum McGregor against Real Madrid. I think it comes off the post and it's a huge point in the game.
They weren't worshipping at the altar of the great Real Madrid. They were having a right go.
You know, if that goes in the back of the net, does it change the outcome of the game, or is it just a moment that you look back on and think you were so near? But I think Celtic, in my opinion, gave a better account of themselves in Europe based on performances than perhaps Rangers did.
Most fans will tell you that the worst thing about football are referees. So this was the season that it was decided to improve the game by bringing in more of them. VAR would launch, but not until October.
From a purely selfish perspective from refereeing is to increase the accuracy of the major decisions in the game.
It's any wrong decision, it'll not exist anymore because VAR will change it, because we've got the benefit in multiple angles and replays, and how can you get a decision wrong?
To improve the product on the pitch, important for Scottish football is to improve the professionalism of the Scottish product, both here in Scotland and the way that we're perceived globally these days.
VAR was never brought in to get every decision correct. It was brought in to help the referees get more decisions correct. I think overall it's probably done that.
The club said, oh, we need it. It's going to cost a few quid. Not so keen about that, but we probably need it.
Just can't wait to get VAR in Scotland, because I think that decision's went against us today. I don't think it's a penalty.
SFA referees full bore. Needed it, wanted it, has to come in.
VAR should have been there to support the referees and, as I say, enhance the quality of the Scottish game. And I think it is somehow managed this season to do the opposite.
To say it hasn't gone smoothly, I think would be an understatement.
The flag's gone up. I have to say, it's not the best angle in the world for the officials to make that kind of decision.
This VAR lot are doing my head in. It's a faff. It's a total... It is a joke, it really is. Keep Scottish football the way it is.
There's been a penalty given against you, you're 1-0 down, now you've got a man sent off and you shouldn't have had.
I think it sucks the life of the game. I don't like it down south. I don't want it up here. It's like essentially a trophy-winning decision at the end of the day. Somebody could have a penalty last minute and it's chopped off and it's not given us.
I would prefer to see more refs going to the monitor and changing their mind as long as they get the decision right.
that's the thing. Right, that's the important thing. Yeah. Doing it when they're actually right.
As a collective, it is disappointed. I think most people in Scottish football that it has dominated the headlines more often than it should have.
I think fans understandably are asking, do we really want this?
I understand you need to adapt to make everything advance, and because you don't want to be like a caveman stuck away, but doing this, it's going to be a laugh, like not a good laugh, a really bad laugh at us.
The tiny measurements as well. You could be like a pinky toe offside.
Football's all about goals, now it's all about trying to rule them out. That's the way I see it.
So what's black and white is offside, right? So that's a matter of fact. He's either on or he's off.
Yep. Yes, correct. Yep.
Everything else is subjective. That's what we had before VAR. We had subjectivity. We had referees making calls, good or bad, depending on what colours they wore, based on their own eyes. VAR hasn't changed any of that.
Again, a couple of incidents, I think, with high boots. Again, one was against Kilmarnock, they never got one for. I think it was against Celtic. These types of inconsistencies, each incident are different, you know, but very similar.
What has baffled me has been when it goes to VAR and then the people in the VAR centre agree with the decision from the ref, which in my view has been the wrong decision, and they agree with it and the play goes on. You know, two of the most standout ones for me were the Curtis Main penalty kick up at Dundee United. When Dundee United were winning 1-0, it would have been a massive 3 points for him. He doesn't get touched, he goes down, we can all see it. That is a clear and obvious error that VAR should have said to the referee, we'd suggest you go and look at the monitor, we think you've made an error. Yeah, the Constantine handball is another one that stands out for me. It was fairly obvious. And again, the handball's been such an issue.
Let's be honest, every week you watch the TV, Sports Scene, Sky, there's a contentious decision every single week.
And none more contentious than this red card for Tony Watt.
The Dundee United striker Tony Watt is the first player to have a red card overturned that was issued after the referee consulted VAR.
John Beaton's decision to send Watt off after re-watching the challenge was later overturned on appeal.
I don't think there should ever be a time where you've got a referee on the pitch, you've got video assistant referee watching it on a screen, get the wrong decision, and then a club wins an appeal. For me, that can't happen.
You have a delay of a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes sometimes to decide on this. Fans are twiddling their thumbs. The energy goes out of the game. Games last forever.
My opinion on the way VAR is used, and I'm not taking not pointing any fingers at any officials, etc. Just the way it's been used, it's just taking the enjoyment out of football.
That is, and I think there was an element of, not joy, but there was an element of, before VAR was introduced, I mean, it was a talking point, wasn't it? It was never foul, that was offside, or this or that. The human error is human error, and regardless of VAR being in place, there's always going to be human error.
There's a lot of language, it's a disgrace, it's a terrible decision. But I think when you look at both sides of the argument, this is why he thinks it's a red card, this is why he doesn't. You have to look at it and say, it's not a decision you agree with. But I don't think every time a referee makes what you would class as a mistake or makes a decision, I don't think it's always a disgrace or always a terrible decision. It's just what they see.
Next season will be very, very interested to see what happens. People say, oh, look down in England, you know, they're X number of years down the line, it'll calm down. It's not calmed down, it's actually ramping up in England.
I think if we can get the referees at some point in Scotland to be full-time and only focus on refereeing, then we'll move the game to another level. And when I watch the Premier League week in, week out in England, and I compare that to the way the Scottish Premiership, for example, is refereed, it's like watching two different games now, and I personally don't understand that.
Hibs versus St Johnstone was the SPFL's first VAR game, and the first goal scored under VAR conditions was scored by...
I'm not good at pub quizzes.
Dre Wright? No.
St Johnstone put a half foot.
Paul Handler.
Oil.
I think it was Kukarevich.
Another chance to send it in to the box. The header comes in. Goal! Kukarevich!
Well done, Tomo.
Thank you.
There's the full-time whistle, and the pressure on the Rangers manager will intensify.
The whole Champions League experience for Rangers brought about negativity, it brought about question marks, and at that point in time, results in the league had started to not be as consistent.
Here is Brown. What a goal! Wow! James Brown with a magnificent strike!
The cracks definitely started to appear.
It was just the way that the team was playing. Like I said, I just felt there was something missing.
May's in the mood. Great ball. Clark! Magnificent from St Johnstone.
It's like, what was there a come down after the Europa League and all the highs that those nights bring? Who knows? But there was definitely something missing.
Van Bronckhorst heads up the tunnel. What will this result mean for him?
Dropped a number of points. Silly points, not points to Celtic, but points to other teams that they should be beating.
I just think the level of performance was poor. You know what? It was a hard watch for the fans.
A young on the rebound. St Mirren in front.
Van Bronckhorst was a quality guy, like a top fella, genuinely nice bloke. He wasn't a ranter and raver. He didn't get furious, and maybe a little bit of fury was required when they were dropping points, and that gap between themselves and Celtic was beginning to look troublesome for Rangers.
I think for a lot of managers this year and a lot of teams, that World Cup break was always going to be a telling time. When you've got 4 weeks, 5 weeks off, it could be viewed as that time. You know what? This might be the time for a change.
There's a break now for the World Cup. Will we see you still as Rangers manager after that break? Are you expecting to be able to, given the time that you want to turn this round?
You know, I had the backing of the board. You know, they give me confidence. But you know, in football, you never know.
So you could see in the end that it was coming, almost for Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. You could sense it was in the post.
Once that happened, once Giovanni lost his job, it looked like there was only one man in the frame for the job.
Within the past couple of hours, Rangers have appointed a new manager. Michael Beale served under Steven Gerrard at the club and now returns in his own right after Giovanni Van Bronckhorst was sacked last week.
And some of the fans are quite happy with that.
Michael Beale! Michael Beale! Michael Beale! Michael Beale!
The fans were huge Michael Beale fans in the sense that he'd worked alongside Steven Gerrard for the time that he had. I think they enjoyed the football that was played under Steven Gerrard. A lot of that playing style was down to Michael Beale.
Okay, it wasn't Gerrard, but it was the next best thing. It was a guy who knew Gerrard, the guy who won the league, stopped the 10 in a row. Maybe this was the guy to fix it.
The performance levels did rise. He brought back a steeliness to the side that was missing.
First couple of games, he was behind at Ibrox against Hibs in his first match, won.
Tillman looks up, he's away. Tillman for Morelos! Rangers in front, and it's Alfredo Morelos!
Behind against Aberdeen in his second match, Pittodrie, and won.
Tillman gets the cross in, he'll fall for Arfield, it's in, Arfield's won it!
4-3-2, thrillers actually, the pair of them.
Somehow, for the second time in a week, Rangers have come from 2-1 down.
When you go behind in games, I think at Rangers Football Club the reality is that you still need to grind out 3 points, and that gave the fans a lot of hope that they could see that determination in the group, that they would find a way to win.
gradually you could see, they were getting better, performance levels were getting better. But as always, and as we expected, I suspected at the start of the season, games against Celtic were going to be massive for them.
Yeah, I mean, it was Michael Beale's first opportunity to show the Rangers supporters that his team mean business against a Celtic side who, as I said, had been so impressive.
I thought Celtic started the game really well that day and deservedly took the lead.
And Dyson Maida puts Celtic in front inside 5 minutes.
But then Rangers just kind of came out and got their nose in front.
Now it's Kent, goes for goal! Fabulous equaliser!
I genuinely couldn't see Celtic get back in it. It's not as if they were pressing and asking all the questions.
John Beaton points to the spot. Tavernier, top corner. That's how to take a penalty.
Rangers, they were the better team that day. Only Kyogo, that little genius Celtic have, pops up with a couple of minutes to go at Ibrox. 2-2, sickens the entire stadium.
And there is the equaliser. Kyogo on the spot. That could be absolutely huge.
Overall, I would say Rangers probably played better than Celtic on the day. It was one of those occasions where Celtic didn't perform to their maximum levels, but Rangers didn't win the match.
It was a massive result in the way the league was going, because I think if Rangers had won that, the momentum might have shifted slightly towards Rangers.
Psychologically for Michael Beale, especially with it being a last-minute goal, I think, and with the amount of points they were separating the teams at that stage, he almost had to win that game.
Celtic have scored a lot of last-minute goals as well, like last-minute equalisers at Ibrox. Cal McGregor's goal at Aberdeen, 1-0.
Cal McGregor! Captain Fantastic!
Those good teams always find a way to win.
They don't think any game domestically is done until it's done.
Celtic will not let up until the final whistle. Before he curls this one in near post, flicked on, it's in, it's Kyogo! And they've done it again in the dying seconds.
There comes a time, and there has been numerous times during the season, where it's about heart as much as ability. When they're in trouble in games, when they're not having their best day, and various sides down the league think they might have them. And Celtic always dug themselves out of those.
Abada, it's a lovely finish from Liel Abada. Celtic have 4, and any doubt about the final outcome is removed.
You never ever in your head think that it's over. You always think that they're going to come back, and 99 times out of 100 they do.
In January, the Scottish Cup served up a fairy tale.
I love covering the early Scottish Cup round games. It's brilliant. There's always a story.
The Darvel-Aberdeen game from the get-go felt like it would be that game in history.
I think it's the top in my lifetime. I can't think of anything that would beat it. We're obviously a non-league side playing against one of the top teams in the country. I think if you look at Aberdeen's history, the scale of the club, their fan base, the resources as well, and look at Darvel, where we are in the country in the pyramid system.
Arriving at Darvel that night, the small ground, everything being really tight to the pitch. It felt old school. You could feel the buzz in the air.
It doesn't get much more romantic than a 6th tier against top flight tie on a January night in deepest East Ayrshire.
Darvel's boss Mick Kennedy proved Ayrshire's answer to Al Pacino.
I enjoyed the team talk.
I've never seen anything like it. It was a brilliant speech.
I promise you right now, we can win this. But it's about belief. That belief starts inside yourself, then it spreads through one another. But you must believe.
A lot of people ask me, was that prepared for the BBC? But the players will confirm that's the team talking most Saturdays or most games. That's the way I speak.
I thought it probably went on a little bit too long. And then I did start to think, if I was a player in the dressing room, would I still be listening at this point?
People talk about underdogs. I'm telling you right now, we're no underdogs. I do not believe it. I've never believed it till the draw's been done. Because I know what's in this change room. I know what's in your hearts. I know when we're together, we can achieve it and we set our mind to it. But you've got to be hungry. You've got to have the desire in your belly. You've got to draw strength for the crowd. You've got to drop to one another. When you need to find that extra yard, that extra bit of oxygen, then look around about you. Look to your brothers. Look to your family. Let's look to the next round. Let's go.
They're all very varied, the team talks I've had.
Alan McLeish was always great at it.
Alan McLeish, again, very good at motivating the players.
Terry Butcher was similar. As a young player coming through at Motherwell.
Owen Coyle was good. He was very good at relaxing you before a game.
No, no amount of motivation could get me ready to play another game of football in a other-side part. Take more than that to get me to try and play football again.
But luckily Darvel were more fired up than Faddy.
Incredible scenes in East Ayrshire.
It's one of the ones that's lucky that I've just turned and span and hit the shot, but I'm not even sure if it was going in actually. I didn't take that deflection and go by the keeper.
What a moment for Jordan Kirkpatrick.
The emotion you could see in the Darvel players, the Darvel manager, was real. Like, you know, the emotion in the fans was real. At both sides. Aberdeen fans, thunderous anger, understandably.
Of Scotland Premier League have knocked out Premiership Aberdeen. Is this the biggest shock the Scottish Cup has ever seen?
Darvel deserved to win the game as well, which is probably puts it right up there for me for that fact, because they played their own way. They didn't just sit back and defend and make the game stuffy. They played how they wanted to play it.
It was glorious, it was. And I know that everyone at Darvel that night felt the same.
I've no doubt that game will be now remembered for probably the rest of my lifetime anyway, in terms of the history of the competition.
That was a game that transcended football, actually. A lot of people that I know don't care about football, have zero interest in it, said to me, what about that Darvel thing? You know, once it breaks through to that extent, you know something special has happened. The upset of all upsets.
Following the Darvel debacle, Jim Goodwin was given a game to save himself. He couldn't. He was one of many to lose their jobs in a season of change.
We kind of have to go back to the start of the season and look who was the manager of all of those 12 clubs at the start of the season, because not a lot of them are around anymore.
I think managers get less time now. I think they get less time. If you don't pick up results, you know quite quickly you could be out the door. That's the industry we're in. It's cutthroat. We need results right now. You need Europe right now because there's a massive cash windfall for European football for clubs.
Half the teams have changed their manager this year. 2 of those teams have went twice. And also some of the times. I mean, Graham Alexander, I think, was the first where it left, and it was before our league ball was kicked.
Treble in, free header, 9! United staring at their heaviest ever home defeat.
Jack Ross had, already had those results that weren't great, but he was just beginning to put his plans into place and he was hoping to develop a squad over the course of a season. To get rid of him straight away and you're going back to kind of almost starting again, for me doesn't make sense.
It was a difficult gig for him, and the two big defeats. I mean, I think there's no comeback from that.
The time in it, in terms of, what was it, 7 games or so that they had in charge was, I mean, it's really short. I mean, 7 games, what can you really achieve in that time? Particularly when it was viewed on as a really, really good appointment, I think, based on obviously what he'd done at Hibs and previous.
Here's Grieve, Alex Grieve, will win it in stoppage time, seals it with the 3rd goal.
I think the harsh reality is that you must deliver success within your first 3 to 4 months in the job, and if you don't do that, you're shown the exit door. And I don't think there's any other line of work or any other job necessarily that you would be given such a short space of time to show what you can do.
Obviously, you look at Motherwell, then Stevie came in, Hamill. I think everybody wanted him to do really, really well. At certain periods throughout his time, there was good performances, but he just didn't manage to find a level of consistency.
What a week for Raith Rovers. Their first
of a victory against Motherwell. Oh, the pressure was on Stevie Hamill. He's trying to put a brave face on things.
It's the expectation, certainly at the top end, and that comes with a big risk. That if you don't get it right, you might not get a lot of time.
Robbie Arts would be the one for me. If you were to put one into the harshest category, I think it would need to be Robbie, because what he's done, finished third comfortably last year. They've had a good season, they've got European football, they had a cup final that they lost on extra time. Obviously brought the club back up to the Premier League as well. I just think it was harsh, but again, not a good run of results and some real pressure from the Hearts fans, which it just seemed over Robbie's time as a Hearts manager, he was always under that type of fan pressure.
How do you get through this on a personal level?
Yeah, rightly so, they're angry as we all are. You know, we expect to win games, especially here. You know, the position we put ourselves in the last couple of years, getting promoted and finishing third and getting European football, we want it again. And we have to get back to that.
Why are they under more pressure to win games? I think society that we're in, the social media aspect of it, the fans voicing their frustrations and their unhappiness to certain results or performances is more out there.
That third place now, that's so valuable in European football terms, in financial terms, that the intensity around that third place, the importance of the third place and the money attached to it has made the life expectancy of managers who are expected to get to it pretty precarious. So Robbie Neilson found that out. Jim Goodwin found it out.
I was disappointed to see Callum leaving St Johnstone. A brilliant guy, a very, very good coach and manager. Obviously, he'll be forever remembered for what he achieved at the club as a player, but most certainly as a manager, the most successful manager they've ever had. Throughout the season, they showed glimpses that they could have been and probably should have been higher up the division than they were.
Good cutback from McLennan. There's Graham Carey. Oh, he has to hit the target.
But again, it seemed like Callum just, no matter what he tried, he couldn't get that reaction that he needed. He couldn't get the response that was required to move the team up the division.
Doesn't put me off, not at all, because you go in there with your eyes open. You know, I've just finished the pro licence just last year and we had some amazing speakers on it. Guys that are at the absolute elite level and manage so many clubs. And they all say that it has to be the right fit and there has to be the connection between owners, chairmen, directors of football and then you going in, because if you're not aligned, then you might as well shit.
Have time to impose what maybe you're asked when you go for an interview. How you're going to play, how you're going to get the best, how we're lining up, what's your style. And then you tell them and then you don't get the results. Well, we need to win games. So it's a tough gig being a manager.
Counter-argument to all of that is, if you look at Stuart Kettlewell going into Motherwell, given the opportunity to take the team for a couple of weeks, couple of games.
It's only half away. Goes again! Obika puts it home, and this Stuart Kettlewell resurrecting this football club. There's a chance already, and on the rebound, it's in, it's spit up! And for Motherwell, be 2 wins out of 2 here in the space of a few days.
Earned the opportunity to take them full time, and their season's turned around on the back of that.
I was looking at them thinking, oh, they're down, but they have really turned a corner.
Look at Aberdeen, Barry Robson. You know, wouldn't have been a lot of people's first pick to come in. However, his record has been absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, he's got in! Incredible from Liam Scales!
If you told me after that 6-0 against Hibs that Aberdeen were going to do what they did, I'd have fallen off a chair.
Clarkson now. Majowski! It's 2! Aberdeen are like a new team.
I think the fact that chairman, chief executives, some of them have got it right by flipping their manager when maybe people thought that was a bit harsh. I think it's more likely that's going to happen again next season.
If we're talking about managers that haven't done so well, lost their job, then you've got to talk about the managers that have done well. And I think probably the most consistent Obviously out with the big two would have been Stephen Robinson throughout the season.
And Celtic, who haven't lost a league game in 364 days, are in a big, big hole in Renfrewshire.
For St Mirren to be in the top 6 for the first time since the 1980s, clearly I'm going to say this, being a St Mirren supporter, but I think he deserves massive credit because at the start of the season, there were St Mirren fans that weren't having him.
Come the spring, Celtic and Rangers took no prisoners, each winning 9 in a row. A perfect 10 for one came into Viaplay view.
Yeah, the League Cup final, obviously both teams gone into it in brilliant form.
What could Rangers do? Could they stop Celtic? And how dominant would Celtic be?
An Old Firm final, especially at Hampden, getting one over on your arch rivals, massive occasion.
As Rangers manager, your remit's to win trophies. That's it, beat Celtic.
Celtic fairly quiet going into it, talking about their media stuff, fairly quiet. Guess they don't have to prove anything to anybody. Rangers, one or two of their players said a few things.
I know how important the game is when you play it against the other mob.
I think, why do you do that? You know, what is the point? You know, you played against the champions. Why would you do that?
Celtic obviously had a gap in the league, and I think everybody recognised that they were going to win the league this season. So it's the first chance for Michael Beale to win a trophy as Rangers manager. Celtic, for a large part, were the dominant team.
When my man came up with two big goals, I never really think they'd go out of second or third gear. They had to then kind of maybe batten down the hatches a little bit when Rangers got the goal. But aye, they deserved to win it that day.
Sure enough, Celtic win. Didn't play great, but played well enough. Rangers played poorly.
Even after the game, the kind of huddle on the pitch, I just thought was kind of, I wasn't a fan of it, to be honest with you. But Celtic didn't play that well, but again, that's the mark of a good team. Didn't have to really play that well to win the game.
Celtic do what Celtic have done, not just this season or last season, but certainly for the best part of a decade. That come the big games, come cup finals, big moments, they get it right and they see themselves over the line.
I think Celtic have got into Rangers' heads under Postecoglou. They've played better than Celtic in some games and still lost. It has to have a psychological effect.
Getting the first trophy of the season, it allows you to start to think, right, okay, this could maybe be a special season.
I think a lot of people were calling that Celtic would win the league very early on. As soon as they'd got a lead, then it was going to be very difficult to see where Rangers were going to get the points back on them because Celtic weren't dropping points. They never looked like dropping points. No matter what managers tried to put up against them, whether they, set up with 10 men behind the ball, whether they tried to press high, no matter what combination of things tactically that teams put up against Celtic, they were coping with.
Haksabanovic tries to cut a one. It's another beauty from Haksabanovic. And they continue on their march to yet another league title.
Where were Celtic going to drop those points? Anywhere. So I think, it was well within everybody's rights to be starting to call the league very early on this season.
Victory for Celtic today takes them to the brink of an 11th title in 12 seasons and leaves Rangers needing snookers to prevent another Celtic triumph. A Rangers win might be enough to sow a seed of doubt among the league leaders and provide the catalyst for the most improbable of turnarounds. Here's O'Reilly now, in position, Kyogo at the spin! And Kyogo with a goal that puts Celtic in front! James Tavernier never scored at Celtic mark. Can he change that here? It's Tavernier. Oh, what a goal from James Tavernier to draw his side level.
Celtic managed to get their noses in front.
Jota presented it back to Celtic, and Kyogo with a second.
When they get their noses at front, especially at Celtic Park, it's always going to be really tough to overturn.
Cool as you like from Jota, and Celtic surely put the game beyond Rangers.
For Rangers earlier in the season were blown out the water. I think that was what Rangers had to ensure didn't happen again, and they managed to do that. But for Rangers, they fell short.
Celtic come out on top in an enthralling Old Firm derby. Celtic take a huge step towards title number 53, opening up a 12-point gap on their rival.
Tynecastle. One sunny May Sunday, the scene of an inauspicious welcome to Scotland, now the setting for Ange immortality.
I mean, how would you judge a team based on what they win? You know, Celtic clearly are winning the trophies in Scotland just now. They play a very entertaining brand of football. They've got some superstars on their team.
Hatate, there's Kyogo! And Celtic on the cusp of the title.
They're so good because Ange Postecoglou has recruited a team that he wants. He's recruited a group of players that he wants, that he thinks fits the mould for the style and the identity that he's got.
Boy plays it across goal, Celtic have a second.
Now, a lot of those players were clearly Ange Postecoglou players. A lot, if not maybe all. Certainly the Japanese lads and a few others. They were all his signings, right? All I'll say is I find them a really fun team to watch.
Celtic are confirmed as champions again. Ange Postecoglou secures his second successive league title. And Ange Postecoglou reckons they can get better still. There's just no stopping Celtic.
Fully deserving of the league, and it will take something special to stop them.
When you look at Kyogo, Hatate, Carter Vickers, Abada Jota, Al McGregor, who just every single season continues to be a 9 out of 10. I mean, you go through the whole team, they have been sensational.
So what makes them so good?
Jota scores a wonderful goal! Abada. Absolutely outrageous! Kyogo! What about that?
Oh, utterly magnificent from Rio Hatate.
James Forrest hat-trick, 100 Celtic goals.
Yates is there, he's brilliant! Taylor! He's at it again!
Kyogo takes a shot on himself, and it's the usual outcome. When Kyogo goes for goal, he finds the back of the net.
They're the fittest team in the league. They're technically the best team in the league, and they've got the most strength and depth out of any of the other teams.
When you watch them playing, very rarely do you see them taking the time over a free kick or a throw-in. They always try and play at a goal kick, and Joe Hart restarts it. They're always trying to play fast. They're always trying to get the ball in play, and trying to put the opposition under pressure.
It's difficult. Mentally, when you're physically tired, that's when mistakes happen. Physically, you might be all right, but it's late in the game, they've brought on fresh energy. They're constantly attacking. And as a player, you've got to be so switched on. And I think that's, in the end, that's where Celtic get the better of teams, is they grind them down and they've got the quality and they just keep going. It's constant waves of attack.
It'd be a dream for me if I was still at Celtic to play in that team, because the ball comes straight to a winger and they've got the final third to do their stuff 1v1 in the last 30 yards of the pitch. It's not a complex system the way they play, but they have the players to do it.
The way that their midfield go and support the front line, the interchanging of positions, the full-backs coming inside the pitch, the fact they play such a high line and squeeze the game, it makes it very, very difficult to stop for a sustained period of time, because they don't stop.
Postecoglou inherited an absolute shambles.
Considering where they were when he came in, considering the pressure he was under when he came in, the start to the league campaign that he had, to go and turn that round, win the league, and then follow that up with the season they've had this season is remarkable. Giakoumakis and Juranovic, I don't know what the real issue was. They wanted a new contract, or Giakoumakis was game time, and the manager, you know, says, well, if you're not happy, leave.
I look at it from a player's point of view. If I'm not playing and I'm at Celtic, how on earth can I go and knock the manager's door and say, why am I not playing? He'll tell me to turn round and walk out. Have you not seen what we've won and how many games we've won? We've not lost a game.
When we look at the different managers who've done amazing things at Celtic, it's not just about, for me, it's not just about trophies. It's the job you had to do to get to that point. And the job that Postecoglou had to do to get to that point was huge. The whole culture of the club had to change. They'd lost their way the 10 in a row. They got blinded by that. Postecoglou comes in and he fixes it all. Absolutely fixes everything with brilliant decision making. So, Andy Postecoglou has been a colossal figure in the recent history of Celtic, and he's only there 2 seasons.
Two down, 1 to go. Up next, a semi-final against Rangers.
Well, yeah, Celtic obviously going for a treble. It's the Scottish Cup semi-final. It's huge.
For both sides of the Old Firm, if you win the semi-final, the reality is that in their minds they would go on and win the final.
So for Rangers, it's plain and simple. Win it, it's not going to be a trophyless season. And for Michael Beale, get his first trophy under the belt.
For Rangers, it would be a huge achievement that they would retain the Scottish Cup, and for Celtic, they would go on and win a treble, which is a phenomenal achievement.
It's a fifth Old Firm derby of the season, and as always, there is so much on the line.
Rangers started probably different to what they have in the previous games. I think they were more on the front foot, they were committing more bodies forward. Celtic then started to get control in the game, and you could see, you know, they were starting to get into a rhythm. They get their goal.
Well, Rangers stood and watched that as Celtic played for the free kick, and Celtic in front, and it's Jota who has given them the advantage.
I mean, it's not the classic Celtic in terms of, you know, cutting teams open, but it's classic in terms of they don't stop, they don't switch off. Maida's alert, picks up the ball, as soon as he does, Jota's away, and it's a goal. That's what they do.
And Celtic just before the break get the breakthrough in the Scottish Cup semi-final, and that could be massive.
Second half performance, Rangers come on strong with the possession, they had a lot of chances, but defensively Celtic were excellent. I think Carter Vickers has been, you know, a revelation at centre back. Him and Starfelt have been outstanding.
For Rangers, they get closer to Celtic, they have their moments, they could have equalised, they could have gone ahead, but they don't manage to do that.
As Rangers manager, your remit's to win trophies. Beat Celtic. That's it.
I think Celtic have got into Rangers' heads.
It's a couple of times now they've played Rangers and found a way to win, where they haven't been able to be at their best, or they haven't been at their best, but they've still found a way to win or get a result, and, you know, that's ominous.
It's all over, and Celtic have done it again. They've continued their hold over Rangers, and it is they who will take their place in the Scottish Cup final.
Celtic were able to show once again why they are the team that they are, because they turn up. They don't necessarily perform and hit the heights that they have done, but they grind out a result.
And so, back to Hampden, with the prospect of an 8th treble dangling like a carrot above Mount Florida. It's a feat never before achieved in world football. Between Celtic and history stood Inverness Caledonian Thistle, who have history of their own in this fixture.
History has been made. Inverness Cali Thistle have beaten Celtic in the 3rd round of the Scottish Cup.
Inverness should never have made it this far. They were knocked out in the 4th round by Queen's Park, but a player eligibility issue got them back in. Now, here they were, at Hampden.
James O'Reilly. Kyogo! And just like that, Celtic, Star of the East, points them towards more history. It's McGregor, and that should just about do it. Liel Abada. Here's Dan Mackay. And perhaps Cali Thistle hadn't done yet. The ball by Abada. Jota. The treble yell from Jota. Celtic 3, Cali Thistle 1. And Celtic will stand at the top of Scottish football.
It's such a special relationship with the Celtic supporters. I was so there at the end. I suppose what they all want to know, and I know you know what's coming is, are you going to be the Celtic manager next season?
Yeah, look, I understand all that, but I'm going to be, just a little bit selfish here, because not just myself, my family, people around me have all worked really hard to enjoy this moment. So as disappointing as that may be for people, that's what I'm going to do.
Celtic boss Ange Postecoglou is to become Tottenham Hotspur's new manager on a 2-year contract.
Well, Laura, it's the news the Celtic fans have been expecting, but also dreading. Ange Postecoglou is on his way out. He will sign a 2-year deal with English Premier League side Tottenham Hotspur.
And with that, we say goodbye to season 22-23. One in which we say farewell to some old friends.
What a bleak campaign it's been for Dundee United.
But welcome back some others.
Dundee, champions, and County have somehow clawed their way back.
A season of great goals scored.
And he smashes it over the goalie into the back of the net.
And lit up by great goal scorers.
Van Veen scores for the 11th consecutive Scottish Premiership match.
We now look ahead to next season. Rangers' recent derby win, hinting at a challenge to come.
It's Fasin Sakala who's in, and it is 3.
But what we know for sure is that a certain Australian's legacy will prevail, and Celtic won't be standing still.